I'm Francesca Maxime, and this is Currents. A first step for these ladies.
The words I could find to somewhat touch on what I'm feeling is incredible joy.
Clearing up misconceptions about contraception.
We live in an age that has a contraceptive mentality and the misuse of the human body.
And the eagle has landed 40 years ago. Good evening. That is off tonight. Well, this is the year for priests, but tonight we begin by looking at another vocation. This past Saturday, 4 young women made what's known as their first profession for the Little Sisters of the Poor. Family and friends gathered at the Sisters Chapel, St. Anne's Novitiate in Queens Village, and our cameras were there to capture it all.
To be a professional women's basketball player, and so that was my dream. I wanted to be an Olympian, so there is no way I thought I'd be sitting here in this beautiful habit. I never imagined God would call me to be a bride of Christ.
I was rather nervous in the beginning, and then thank God I was able to get into the spirit of the liturgy and just experience the joy that I was meant to feel.
First profession means that this is the first time a woman is pronouncing vows in the church. It's an ecclesial event, so she's pronouncing vows of chastity, poverty, obedience, and in our case, we have a 4th vow of hospitality.
It's a beautiful day to make your profession, but it's something deeper. It's indescribable, as John Paul II has said. A vocation is indescribable. But the words I could find to somewhat touch on what I'm feeling is incredible joy, incredible thanksgiving, and excitement to go out there and to serve the Lord.
We have a couple of rehearsals for the day itself, and to remember what we're going to do at certain parts of the liturgy. And also, just like a regular wedding, we try on our wedding gowns, which is our habit. And so that was exciting too.
I became a novice yesterday. So I entered about 9 months ago, and we moved here to the novitiate just a few months ago. And then so yesterday, myself and 3 other young women received the veil and our new names.
This is my family now, and we're considered part of them. So it's all more exciting because it's all these sisters who I've grown to love, and now they're truly part of my family.
When a young woman first enters a religious community, sometimes she's called a candidate. We call them postulants. And literally, in the Latin means somebody who's knocking at the door of a community and just wants to get to know more, and the congregation gets to know her. And it's just an initial time of adjustment and basic formation. A novice is a young woman who has completed her postulancy stage and now wants to, embark on a more serious formation with the community. Our novitiate is a 2-year program of more intense study, prayer, discernment, apostolic experience to see if this is really where God is calling them. And then eventually, after about 5 years or so, they'll make the decision whether to make final vows, a permanent, perpetual commitment.
My family was really respectful of what I wanted to do with my life, and but I know that they were saddened in the beginning because they had other hopes for me. But now they know how happy I am. They saw me today at the profession, and now they're happy for me.
In the beginning, it was hard to accept. Well, they were at first in disbelief, But once they saw the steps I was taking and entered the congregation and really left to begin the postulancy in the time of formation, it's taken some time for them to really see the beauty and the privilege and the gift of a religious vocation.
It can be very, very difficult to give anything up. I think that what the world really needs are people who are willing to sacrifice everything for the truth. People who know God is the first thing that the church and the world is just absolutely thirsting for. I think that people want to know God and they want to know the truth. And it's just such a gift to be a religious. There's nothing to lose.
The Little Sisters of the Poor. Congratulations to those 4 young ladies. And later on in the year, the sisters' foundress, Jean Dugan, will be canonized. She'll be declared a saint. Stay tuned, there's much more current straight ahead, including all the day's headlines. And 50 years traveling that narrow path.
This is an opening, and we're going to find out and experience more the richness of this new missionary movement in the church.
Welcome back to Currents. I'm Francesca Maxime. Later on in the show, where were you 40 years ago today? We'll hear some interesting answers to that question. But first, we'll take a look at the day's headlines. Well, it started in Spain more than 50 years ago, and now the Idente Missionaries work in more than 24 countries. These consecrated men and women minister in the Diocese of Brooklyn and in the Archdiocese of New York. On Saturday, the group gathered at St. James Cathedral to celebrate its golden anniversary.
We just celebrated the Eucharist here in St. James Cathedral Basilica in Brooklyn. It was the special celebration for the Idente Missionaries. We are celebrating the 50th anniversary of our founding. We were founded on June 29th, 1959, on the Canary Islands, the island of Tenerife, by Fernando Rielo Pardal, a Spanish thinker. And after the founding in the island of Tenerife, the Institute began to expand into the peninsula in Spain and also in Italy and all over Europe and South America. And now we live on 24 continents and we minister in various ministries in the church. This Mass here at the Cathedral today was the closing of our Jubilee year. It was presided over by Bishop Octavio Cisneros, who is an auxiliary bishop of the Bishop of Brooklyn, of the Diocese of Brooklyn, and attended by many members of the Idente family and all the Idente missionaries of the United States province who live in or near New York.
So in our Mass today, we had our brothers and sisters here, Idente Missionaries. We had relatives, we have friends, we have persons who cooperate with us in our missions here in New York, in the parishes that we have, in the university chaplaincies that also we administer. And some of them have accompanied us to Rome a couple of weeks ago to be part of our Jubilee pilgrimage there. I think all of us were extremely excited and grateful here to Bishop Cisneros, who on behalf of Bishop DiMarcio celebrated this Mass, gave us a beautiful message encouraging us to continue this charism and to live it every day more faithfully. So everybody received the message with great gratitude and with consolation and with desire truly to carry this message further beyond and beyond.
But I'm thrilled to be here because I see it also as a sign of the church moving forward in time, accepting new charisms, and I'm very anxious to see how this will unfold in my own lifetime. I know that one of the charisms of Fernando Rielo is to continue always getting educated, and I hope that I will watch this missionary movement of the church and the spirit of Riello grow throughout the world. I have friends who are Idente missionaries in different parts of the world. And as I say, it was wonderful to hear my own pastor, Bishop Cisneros, express a little bit of the charism of Fernando Riello. It's beautiful to see some of the priests that I know up there on the altar, and it is a big opening for the church, and I truly believe what the Sister Provincial said, that this is an opening, and we're going to find out and experience more the richness of this new missionary movement in the church.
Here in Brooklyn, Idente Missionaries work in the campus ministry office of the diocese. Well, students in the Archdiocese of New York may get more class time starting in September. The school superintendent is encouraging principals to limit the number of half-days, which may mean an end to early dismissal on First Fridays. Archdiocese spokesman Joseph Zwilling says 4 or 5 schools on Staten Island, which offer special religious education classes, would be exceptions to that policy. On vacation in northern Italy, Pope Benedict prayed for the first time in public following his surgery to repair his broken wrist. And a technology company is lending him a helping hand. The Olivetti firm has presented Benedict with a laptop computer so he can continue writing the second part of his book, Jesus of Nazareth. And finally, bishops in Zambia are speaking out after the jailing of a newspaper editor there. The editor was arrested after emailing healthcare officials a photo of a woman giving birth in the streets of Zambia's capital. The editor sent the email to show the effects of a healthcare workers' strike. The workers walked off the job in May, but returned last month. Well, stay tuned. There's much more currents ahead. Later, we'll get your thoughts on the very first moonwalk. And birth control the natural way.
Openness. Openness to the will of God, and openness always to the transmission of human life.
This week is Natural Family Planning Awareness Week, and while many people may practice it, others may only have some idea or may not at all be aware of what exactly it is. Natural Family Planning, or NFP, is just what it sounds like. Family planning without the use of artificial or external birth control. Well, to learn more about this, I spoke last week with Father John Cush, who teaches marriage preparation courses in the Brooklyn Diocese. And thank you so much, Father Cush, for being here today.
It's my pleasure to be here.
And what the topic is of the day is natural family planning. It's something that people perhaps have heard about but maybe don't know quite enough about. So tell us a little bit about what it is.
Of course. Natural family planning really is a wonderful aspect of life. It's a chance for the couple to come together, allowing God really to be the author of life. The couple, when they come together to procreate, and remember the term that we use, procreation, rather than reproduction. Reproduction at times sounds like we're making photocopies,
Sure.
But the idea really of procreation, aiding the Creator. It's recognizing the fact that God is the author of all life. Now, it's a chance, natural family planning, for couples who are always open to the transmission of human life. That's the key. They have to always be open. Every sexual action between a man and a woman has to be open to the transmission of human life. And natural family planning really is no different. The idea behind it primarily would be God has blessed the human being, the man and the woman, with a natural cycle, if you will, of when the woman is fertile. So the idea would be, if the couple, for whatever reason, is not at that moment able, to have children, for whatever the reason might be, the idea would be that it's a chance naturally of almost regulating birth. They're open always to the possibility. Remember, it's not really like a Catholic contraception or anything. We want to avoid any level of artificial contraception. So this is the idea of the couple coming together naturally, open to the possibility of life, having sexual intercourse at a time when the woman in her cycle is not fertile.
Okay. So this is something that is sanctioned, obviously, by the Catholic Church.
Absolutely. The key is openness. Openness to the will of God, and openness always to the transmission of human life. So the body is naturally, receptive to this.
Sure.
The couple, the key, I think, that what makes natural family planning so wonderful is that the couple gets to know each other.
And part of that is because you have to kind of keep on track with a lot of sort of charts and temperatures and things,
Absolutely.
right? Tell me a little more about that.
Basically, it can sound like science at times, but it really is not that bad. The idea truly would be coming together, knowing each other. Always, and I'm going to sound like I'm a broken record, always being open to the transmission of human life. You're not putting any blocks in the way of transmitting human life, but you know when the woman is fertile. So you kind of get to know each other after a while.
Right. There are only, a few days in there
Absolutely.
really where the woman is most fertile and most able to, to conceive a child. What are some of the, if you can say, I don't know, the ways that you can tell when that time is?
Well, again, the raising of the temperature, her own menstrual period, at the risk of not getting too technical, but the idea of cervical mucus and something along those lines. But they are ways, and there's wonderful resources that we have, even within our own diocese.
Sure.
Our Office of Family Life offers classes in pre-Cana, and they really are very, very helpful. And it's important for us as Catholics to know what this is all about. There's a wonderful theology of the human body. It's respecting the body as a gift of Almighty God.
And is this then an opportunity, sort of as you were saying, that isn't present in forms of birth control, frankly, that aren't sanctioned by the church or anything, but to really have a dialogue with your wife or your husband?
Yes, it's a chance really to grow with each other, and that's really absolutely essential. Looking at the other person as your partner, it's a wonderful chance to realize what a gift is in front of you.
Are there any drawbacks? Are there any health risks? Are there any things about
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's nothing that's unnatural about this process at all, and that's what makes really the idea of natural family planning.
Why don't we hear more about it? Because I don't see it advertised in the newspaper, or the magazines. I don't, where is the information?
We live in an age that has a contraceptive mentality. That's the key, the contraceptive mentality, and the misuse of the human body, as if the human body is to be used almost exclusively, for pleasure. Sexual intercourse obviously is for the mutual pleasure of the two partners, of the husband and wife, but it's also open to the procreation of children. What happens in contraception is we remove that ability to have human life transmitted.
Well, if we have the contraception culture, how do you then get people to buy into this?
Right, and a lot of that comes down to openness to talk about the issue, to have a little bit of knowledge about the issue yourself. And I think that's why it's important within our pre-Cana programs, before a couple is married, really to discuss these issues as part of their weekend for the priests, for us ourselves. This week that we have coming up, the Natural Family Planning Awareness Week in our church in the United States, for us maybe to mention it, for us in our parish bulletins.
Sure.
Perhaps to throw that in, to have to even mention it on homilies, without, as I say, without going into great medical details and charts. And
does the church work at all with OBGYNs, doctors, other physician and providers to get them information so that they can recommend it to their patients?
Absolutely. There are some fine doctors who really do respect life in all its forms, that really do have a pro-life mentality. And that's what this comes down to. Natural family planning really is a part of a pro-life movement. We often think of pro-life as only anti-abortion, but pro-life means respecting life, respecting the life of your partner, seeing the image and likeness of Almighty God in your partner, and then moving on from there, respecting that God is the author of life. And there's so many doctors out there who are willing to talk about this. So we just have to look for them and try to find our best, and just to avoid that mentality, that almost this easy way out, a birth control mentality, a contraceptive mentality. It's really been true. The contraceptive mentality ultimately leads to an abortive mentality.
Well, it gets back to the whole idea of what a marriage is really about, which is the dialogue and the connection, physical, emotional, mental, the vocabulary and the dialogue. So that's all we have time for today, Father Kush. We appreciate that, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks again. God bless you.
That is Father John Cush of the Brooklyn Diocese. And I've posted some more information about NFP on our blog. You can just head over to netny.net/currents and click on Riding the Wave. Our Natalia Ortiz will also have a full report on NFP later on in the week, and we'll also hear from some of you. Well, in a related story, an Asian news website reports that families in one Vietnam province are being fined for having more than 2 children. Authorities in one village launched a family planning program back in 1994. Families that don't follow the program must pay a fine in the form of rice. A parish priest says that 90% of his parishioners have paid these fines rather than go against the teachings of the Catholic Church. Well, stay tuned when Currents returns 40 years ago on arrival. We'll have a look back. Today, our country remembers an historic day 40 years ago when the U.S. won what was then considered the race to the moon. In a 1961 speech, President John F. Kennedy said that by the end of the 60s, he wanted the U.S. to send a man to the moon and return him safely. And we did just that. On July 20th, 1969, 2 men, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, did the first actual moonwalk. We wanted to get remembrances of people, so we talked to parishioners at 2 churches in Windsor Terrace, Immaculate Heart of Mary and Holy Name.
I was in Rochester, New York. I was with my wife. We went up to visit her aunt who lived in Rochester. And it was amazing. It was truly amazing, sitting there watching on TV and all the stories we heard at that time. Is this really happening? There were stories that it was in a studio somewhere because we were trying to beat the Russians and we would do it at any cost, and we were really in the desert in New Mexico.
I was very little at the time, so just the idea of space was very, very exciting.
I was just beginning in the priesthood then. I was just starting, maybe first year or so. And I had been upstate New York and then came down to Staten Island. And, we just all watched on television. These were all new people I had just met. And we just all rejoiced with it together, what seemed so impossible. Now, all possibilities were coming. It was a very difficult time, too, mixed, good and bad days. And it was all that was going on in the city, but it gave us all a boost, that we all have a hope together.
Most amazing memories and being almost unbelievable but wonderful at the time.
I thought, well, how is this fellow moving around there with all that uniform on him? And
there's a gravity.
And he just did a good job. And then he did a couple of jumps, and everything was so light. So it was something. Yes.
I remember I was holding my little baby sister Helen in my arms and watching it on TV, a little black and white TV, and she just turned 40.
I remember sitting in front of the TV with my mom and dad.
I remember being in my basement with the TV turned on, and I don't remember many things from my youth, but the fact that I remember that left a great impression. And I think, the iconic photo that it left of us, of Earth, has heightened our consciousness to that we can realize that we're all living interconnectedly on this one planet. We don't always get it in our practices and our ways, but it's ever before us, and that's something that we have to strive to, because it's all God's good creation.
But the rumor around was that now that they landed on the moon, we're going to have a lot of bad weather. I don't know why, but that rumor got circulated. It was so funny because one thing had nothing to do with the other. But look, we're going to have a lot of rain. They're disturbing the whole symmetry.
It gave us an opportunity to use our imaginations and what was going to happen after the moon landing. So it was very positive.
I was very young, but I know that the adults around me were very, very excited. So that made us excited. And we just came back from Florida, and on the way to the airport, we got to see the shuttle blasting off through the sky. It was great. It was a big fireball. So we're just all about the whole space thing. It's just really cool, and I'm glad they're safe up there, actually.
Remembrances of the first moon landing from churchgoers in Windsor Terrace, Brooklyn. Thanks to everybody who spoke with us and shared some of their experiences. Really fun, a lot of diversity there. And as another thank you to all our viewers, we want to take you out to the ball game. We have 8 pairs of tickets to this Thursday's Brooklyn Cyclones game against the Staten Island Yankees. It's pretty easy to win. You can just call our phone number, 718-499-9705, extension 503. Or you can email webmaster@netny.net. Be sure to leave your phone number and email address, and we will call you to let you know how to pick the tickets up. Good luck to everybody on that. And as an extra added incentive, just wanted to let everybody know, yours truly is going to be throwing out the first pitch. So I'm better at tennis than I am at baseball or softball. It may not go that far. However, would love to meet y'all in person and hope to see you on Thursday night. Well, that is all for this edition of Currents. On tomorrow's show, we'll have another look back, not 40 years ago, but rather to last year, a reunion of young people who traveled to Australia for World Youth Day. We have that and more tomorrow on Currents. And remember, you can always watch us online. The address is netny.net/currents. We'd also like to hear from you. If you have a story idea or a comment about the show, you can just go ahead and send us an email. The address there is drop us a line at currentsny.net. So for all of us here at Currents, I'm Francesca Maxime. Thank you so much for watching us. Have a great night.